Dear friends of Love for Volleyball, Amor por el Voleibol, I am pleased to talk today with a North American player who, during his time in the national team, achieved numerous success, was a member of Olympic teams, and played in a great series of international tournaments of the highest level. I mean Tom Sorensen, who is currently with us today talking about volleyball. Hello, Tom. How are you?
I'm doing well, Alfredo. How are you today?
I'm fine and happy to talk with you. Tom, first of all, please tell me, when did you start playing and why did you choose volleyball as a sport?
I started playing volleyball when I was 14 years old, a freshman in high school. I was actually growing up, I was mostly a basketball player, like so many other volleyball players, especially American volleyball players. Uh, and my sister played volleyball. And I was going into my freshman year. I really didn't have anything else to do. And luckily, my high school team at that time had a volleyball team, which is rare where I'm from. And she was like, "You should go out for volleyball." And I was just kind of like, I suppose I got, I'm not doing anything else. It'll help me work on my vertical, a lot of, transferable skills from volleyball to basketball. So it'll help me play basketball. So sure, why not? And also, my cousin was actually going to be on the 1980 Olympic team until they boycotted in Moscow.
Okay,
So it's a little bit of bloodlines too. So that kind of went along with it. And my cousin was also the coach of the volleyball team. So I think even if I hadn't gone out for the team originally, I think he would have been like, no, you're playing. I think he would have found me in the hallways at school and said, no, you're playing volleyball.
okay. And why did you say that it's very unusual in your college to or your school to play volleyball?
At that time, I got to high school in 1986. It was very rare. Like, luckily, Wisconsin had men's volleyball, but
Okay,
most states did not outside of California, Hawaii. I think maybe New York had at that time, but it was very, very rare to have boys volleyball at that time.
okay, understand. How were your first years playing at the school or then in college? How was your experience at this time?
I was just, I just played, and I think growing up, I played every sport. I played basketball, football, soccer, baseball.
Mhm.
So I played all the sports. So I think it transferred over pretty well, all the skills, and just having a decent athletic base. So I picked it up pretty quickly, and I made varsity my sophomore year, which was crazy to me. Like, that to me was like the pinnacle of volleyball at that time, because I thought our varsity team were so good. And it's something I know I was tall. I was about 6 feet tall my freshman year, which is I don't know in meters. So then I was probably like 190 in centimeters my second year.
Mhm.
So then I kind of grew up a little bit more after that. So I was tall, which helped. But it was just, and kind of, I remember watching my first real high level volleyball. A
Mhm.
friend of mine on the volleyball team had the national championship game of USC versus Pepperdine from
Okay.
1985, and he had the videotape of it, and he showed it to me, and I was just kind of like, when I saw that, I was just like, I want to do that, because it's the first time I really, really ever saw high level volleyball, and it was like, and that just kind of really wrapped my brain around wanting to be a volleyball player.
And I know in USA the college volleyball or university volleyball is very of high level in women and men too.
Yeah.
So how was this experience for you?
It was incredible for me. It was, coming because I'm from Wisconsin, and at that time there was just no one from Wisconsin had really gone on to do much in volleyball. Probably the only other comparable person was Rod Wild, who played for the national team, was from
Mhm.
Iowa, and he went out to Pepperdine too. For that, like, is mostly considered all California, Hawaii. So it was, I was a bit of a rarity at that time, which is really cool. But like, I was basically, I finished high school in '89, so I was recruited in 1988,
Okay.
and that's when Marv Dunphy coached the men's volleyball team to the Olympic gold medal. And obviously, I told you I was a huge volleyball nerd, so like, when Marv Dunphy comes to visit me in Wisconsin and comes to me in my high school and stuff like that, I was just completely in awe of him, which I still am to this day, but at that time even more so. So just something I set high goals for myself at a really young age. There's a story I always tell people, and I had this kid I played with. His name was Jeff Squires,
Mhm.
and when I was playing in Italy in 1996, 97 in Falconara, he was on his honeymoon in Europe, and he came to find me to visit me. And I was like, oh, great, a good American kid. I want to speak English. I was the only foreign player at that time. I was the only stranger on the team at that time. So he comes to find me. He says, hey, man, it's good to see you, blah, blah. And we're just kind of small talk. And he's like, hey, first thing I just want to say to you is I just want to apologize. And I was like, apologize? Apologize for what? And he's like, when we were in high school, we had a class together. And at the beginning of our semester, the teacher asked us what we wanted to be doing in 10 years. You said you wanted to be playing on the Olympic volleyball team. He said, I laughed at you. It's like, I thought there's no way you could be playing on the Olympic volleyball team. So he said, I just want to say I'm sorry. I didn't believe in you. And I think it's really cool what you've done, that you set that goal and you accomplished it, which is obviously something he didn't have to apologize for, but I thought it was really, really cool that he did,
Very interesting what you're saying. And after your experience in college, when did you join the national team, and how was that experience for you?
I went straight from college pretty much to the national team without much time off at all. Maybe I had a week or two. I think they may have had a road trip or something. But I pretty much went straight down. And it was, it was fun. It was obviously great to play volleyball. It's weird how, like, once you get into the professional, you start making money to play volleyball, how just kind of the dynamics of it change. It's like, when I was playing in college, I never didn't want to practice. I always wanted to play hard. I always wanted to practice. I wanted to be there. And then when I got there, not always, but eventually it got to a point where it's like, ugh, this is the job now, and it's like, and you got to kind of overcome that and find you past it, and so that changed. And plus, I loved my college coach so much that sometimes you feel like you go from college to the national team, you should go. Logic would seem to think that you're going to a better coach and better, and that didn't really happen for me at that time. Well, that's no fault of the coaches I was with, just because I think Marv, in my estimation, is one of the top coaches ever to coach volleyball. So it was probably a tough road to hoe for me mentally.
Exactly. After this, when you joined the team, the national team, how do you feel about being able to play in a team that had previously so many achievements and outstanding players, and as Kirli, Timmons, Buck, and a lot of legendary players? How do you feel to be in a team who has this history?
I mean, those are all the people that I look up to, growing up. So it was really interesting to play with some of them sometimes. Like I could play with Eric Sato, with Jeff Stork, Bob Staverlik, Scott Fortune. So guys who, I watched win a gold medal in '88, then I got to play with, some years later. So you got to find that line of being like, okay, we're peers now. I'm not looking up to them. We are peers trying to achieve the same goal. So, for a while you're a little uncomfortable talking to them because you're just kind of like a smiling little kid, like, holy crap, I'm here with Eric Sato, I'm here with, Scott Fortune, I'm here, but eventually, you start practicing with Jeff Stork and you kind of overcome that thing, and you just kind of watch their work ethic and you try and copy it and emulate it. It's like, I mean, they had such unbelievable success that it puts a lot of pressure on you, but pressure is a privilege. You want pressure, or you should want pressure at least.
You want to be better.
Yeah.
And those years in the national team, what were you most remembered championships, and why? You played a lot of international tournaments, Olympics, Pan American. What were your most remembered and most fantastic championship?
I mean, definitely the most remembered one for me was the World Championships in 1994, where we took a bronze medal.
Okay.
I mean, for the USA volleyball team, a bronze medal at the World Championships is not the greatest thing, because this is a team that's won 2 gold medals at the Olympics. It's won the Triple Crown.
Yes.
It's won everything. But when you look at it through the scope of, we had just come off an 0-12 World League.
Mm-hmm.
Like World League in 1994, we did not win one match. And the World Championships were maybe 3 months later, 2 months later, and we get a couple additions with Bob Staverlik joined the team, Scott Fortune joined the team, Jeff Nygaard joined the team from college, and with those few additions, we go from being 0-12 in the World League to winning a bronze medal at the World Championships and losing in 5 to the Netherlands in the semifinals that we easily could have won, to be in the gold medal match. So it's like, when you go from 0-12 World League to then a few months later to a bronze medal at the World Championships, it feels like you're the king of the world, you know?
Exactly. And in these years in the national team, did you have I sometimes ask some players who have a favorite rival, a favorite team who wants to play against, and maybe some not. Do you have some rival team, Italy, I don't know, Netherlands, who do you like to play against? And
I mean,
why?
I love playing against all those teams. I really love playing against those teams. You know, Netherlands, you know, there are guys that I look back on playing against them. Like when I played against them on the same court, like I never thought they were that good. Just because in my mind, I was just as good as everybody. Whether I was or not, that's debatable. But in my mind, I thought I was. Like, I mean, I think of guys like Bas van de Goor. Man, was he a good player. And he could do so much. His arm was so good moving around.
He
Cuba.
played. He played in the middle and attacked over four back
Yeah.
attack.
I mean, he could do it all. I mean, maybe not pass, but he could hit everything and hit it really well. If you blocked him, it was a good day for you. You know, it's like, you know, you look at the old Italian teams with Lorenzo Bernardi, Andrea Gianni. I mean, Gardini, whose son is now playing, which makes me feel really old. Gardini's son playing at BYU. I mean, just all those teams are just so good. I mean, it's oof. Brazil. I mean, the first match I ever started on the U.S. team was in Brazil in front of like 40,000 people. Where if I was 2 feet away from you, I would have to scream at the top of my lungs in order for you to hear me.
Absolutely crazy.
Yeah,
They're
so
crazy.
fun.
Yes.
Yeah, that doesn't happen in the United States. So
But I have, as I told you before, I talked with Paula Weiss for Lori Kimura from the United States, and before with a Brazilian Olympic player who lives in Texas, have a volleyball academy, and they told me about the power of and the importance of the school and college volleyball. And I asked them, what about in USA the volleyball as an important sport like NBA or hockey? What's happening in USA, in your opinion? Why volleyball doesn't have this importance?
well, I think the one thing that's happening now is more of the countries playing men's volleyball, boys volleyball. So, like I said, it used to be there's just a couple pockets in places that had men's volleyball. That's where almost everybody came from. But now
Exactly.
it's. I mean, every year there's new clubs joining. There's new Minnesota just started boys high school volleyball. Colorado just started boys high school volleyball. And it's really spreading like crazy. It's the fastest growing sport in the men's side in the country. So with that, you tap into more athletes. You have, you know, when you have a bigger pool of players, you're going to find better players. You know, it's like, and they're going to play against better players. That's going to make everybody better. So I mean, when I started, you know, I'm a little under 2 meters. I was one of the tall guys. Now I'd be probably small for my position, you know. So it's just
It's absolutely crazy. No, today to have 2 meters in volleyball is nothing special.
It's good, but not special. Yeah, 2 meters
Exactly.
used to be like, whoa, 2 meters. Now it's like, okay, good, he's 2 meters. That's good. You know.
Yeah. In the national team, for example, of USA in Los Angeles in '84, Buck were over 2 meters, and nobody else. Temos 96, Kirley 91, and so on. But today, all volleyball players
I mean, for years and years.
Yes.
Yeah, for years and years. I mean, Craig Buck was considered a giant at basically 2 meters. And that was for a long time. Oh my God, this guy's 2 meters tall. Now it's like, that's pretty average.
Exactly. And tell me, Tom, when you stop playing as an active player, when you decide to dedicate yourself and to be outside the court, being starting to start to be a coach, and why you decide to do this?
Well, I was away from the game for a long time. Like I didn't start coaching until about 5-6 years ago.
Okay.
And I finished when I was 30, 31. So that, you know, there's about 14, 15 years when I was away from the game, and I was working in a restaurant in Milwaukee, and I worked with this girl, Melissa Blessington, and she was coaching at a small college there.
Okay.
And we became friends and everything. And she moved on. She went from that college to another college, and then she went to a third college.
Mm-hmm.
And at that time, this third college decided they wanted to start a men's volleyball program. And they asked her if she wanted to do that, and she said, "I will if I can bring in the person I want to do it with, and I want to start the program with." So she gave me a call one day, and she was like, "Do you want to coach?" And I was kind of bartending at that time, and it was a good job. I made good money, but I was kind of like, "What the hell? Sure, I'll coach." So I went and went through all the interview process and background checks and that kind of stuff, and I got the job there, and that's when I got back into coaching, and that's when I started to see all my friends' kids are playing volleyball and they're getting recruited to play. That's when I started to realize how old I was.
And tell me, how was this experience for you today, or when you started to coach? Because as a player, you have a vision of volleyball, but as a coach, where did your ideas came from? Where did you get out all the trainings and information? What did you make to be a coach and try to be a better coach every day?
Well, one of the hardest things for me as a coach, honestly, a lot is not beginning all of my sentences with "my coach always said" or "Marv always said." Like I have to try and take credit for it myself.
Mm-hmm.
I always want to start so many sentences with, "This is what my coach always told me," instead of just saying the information. I always want to give credit where credit is due, but at that point, it doesn't really matter that much. But 3/4 of the things I say are just me parroting Marv Dunphy, and then trying to learn the new skills of the game too, where things have changed since I played.
Mm-hmm.
So it was just, I love the way the game is played now. To me, all the speed of it, the way the middle, like when I watched the game first, I was like, how are these middles getting out to these fast sets to pins and whatnot? It's just incredible. Like I wish I was able to learn the game the way it's played now. Because I remember like halfway through my national team career, they changed to where you could take the first play overhand, and you could double hit all the first contacts. And it's like, well, I've been playing for about 10 years now, and I've been conditioned to the fact that this is illegal. It's really hard to rewire my brain to all of a sudden be like, oh, now I can do this, and that's just fine. So it's fun for me to watch new players play when they can just do this without a second thought. They just do it instantly without thinking about it. Where it means like, oh, that's right, I can do it that way. It's like,
it's true. It's true.
Yeah.
In our times were very different. The rules have changed a lot of. And do you like, for example, the position of the libero today?
Love it. Yep, especially on the men's side, because like the more rallies you can get, the better it is for the crowd. Ball control. Well, no one goes to watch to see ball control for the most part, except for coaches maybe.
Mm-hmm.
But it really makes the game a whole lot better.
I know,
and it's an opportunity for other players.
Yes, but for example, I played in the middle as a middle blocker, and I like to play in the back row to defend and receive. Today, the middle blocker make the set the how say it in English saque. Bueno.
Yeah. Well, we've had this conversation before with a player who played in the national team with me for a lot of years, and he played with '96. Brett Winslow, who was a little bit shorter than me, but he's a middle blocker.
Yes.
He was a great defensive player. Like one of his strengths is the fact that he dug a lot of balls, and that scored you a lot of points as a middle back in the day.
And even great middle blockers attacked very well from the back row.
Oh yeah.
Remember, for example, Bas van der Goor, he was in the middle blocker. He was a fantastic back row hitter. And now
we've had the conversation as his value would be so diminished now in the game the way it's played now, because he gets to serve once and maybe dig one rotation across the back row, but you'd rather take the big guy who can't play any defense and is bigger, like it's. But at the same time, like I said, there are plays that happen on the court that really rally a team and get a team excited. One of those plays is when a middle digs the ball and you turn it and you get that point. That's one of those really celebration points. Guys smile and they see that middle who dug the ball. It's like So it's really a fun play when it happens, and it happens less and less now because of the libero.
Yes, yes. But you're right. You're right. The speed of volleyball has changed. And when we see, for example, a play from the 70s is another volleyball. It's very slow, high balls, and the settings were very high. But for example, me as an old guy, I love volleyball from the 80s or the 70s too. Volleyball for me all times is a wonderful sport. And you told me you like the libero, and for example the points counting as like ping pong today. Do you like it?
Yeah. I like it. It's there's a certain part of me that misses the old school. The team gets to 14 and you can just side out forever and keep them there. So you feel like comebacks don't happen, but comebacks do still happen. They're just not the same. They happen from like 16 to 10, and then you come back and win 25-23. So you just have to see that the comebacks is a little bit different. There's not that edge of your seat where every moment's like, okay, could this be the one? Could this be the one? Could this be the one? I mean, I've had those games being down 14-8 and coming back to win, 17-15 or 16-14, when all of a sudden you just lock in your side out game. But also just doesn't allow you to get in those holes. It's like you have to be tough enough to not get in those holes now. So, I mean, I understand the arguments, but in general, I like most of the rules because I think the more balls you keep alive, like I like the net serve rule.
Me too.
As I say, I always tell people, like, I feel like when I first started on the U.S. team, like 93 to 96, I call it like the dark ages of men's volleyball because it was literally just teams crushing their jump serve, not caring if they missed it or made it. Just miss serve, ace, bad pass. It's like, so there was just nothing. You didn't get to see good offenses. You didn't get to see. So it was just this endless barrage of miss serve. And it's just like, oh my God, somebody serve in, please. It's like, and I understand why they did it. It worked, but it just wasn't fun to watch. It's like Brazil back in those days had all those guys crushing serves, and Italy the same thing. But
yes.
I think from a spectator standpoint, the more balls you keep alive, the more rallies that happen, it's more fun to watch.
Yes, you're right. For example, I would like to see, for example, the blocking the serve. I love to block the serve by times. Even every time the power serve is every day more powerful, and you don't have a good reception, you lose the game. So
that's the kind of thing, though. You start getting some 7-footers up there, they can just stand there and just be like,
yeah. I know. And tell me, talking about volleyball, what do you think is going to be the future of volleyball in USA after the pandemic? What's your vision about this?
Well, I mean, already Stanford universities dropped their team. There's been a few universities that have men's volleyball that have just shut down totally. It's really happened at a bad time because every year, like, schools were adding programs in NAI and Division III, like smaller level schools, but it was just growing like crazy. And now it's just kind of put a damper on everything. I just hope. I mean, they're. I know, like, the alum at Stanford are really trying to fight to keep the men's volleyball team around, and I know they have some very influential alumni. So I mean, I hope they can, because Stanford's a major university that their program is very, very important to, like, the aesthetics of volleyball and the university. You have UCLA versus Stanford. Those are two big name schools that people all want to watch, whether they're terrible or they're really good. The names UCLA and Stanford are very important. Like, Pepperdine, while a big school in men's volleyball, is not a big school in all other sports. People know it, okay, a lot because of the location, but you need those high profile schools to have the game.
Exactly. I know. And after this, we all hope volleyball gets its feet again, and we see much of good volleyball and all around the world. I remember seeing you in some old videotapes that my father brought me from 90s American or American games. You played in if I don't wrong, you played in 4 position, and you played very, very hard. You played in a very powerful team, and you had I think your tactics from your team were a little thing. I'm very confused now. I will cut this because I'm confused now.
Oh, don't worry about it.
What I wanted to ask you is about your experience as a power player, because I read about your achievements in points and records, and also in college and the national team. What was your feelings about this, to be a player that makes so great contribution to the team, to the team play?
Well, it's funny. Like for myself, like some of the things I'm most proud of personally are like it's weird. I didn't really think about this for a long time, and then I did a high performance USA camp, and I was talking to this coach guy named Troy from Arizona, and we were just sitting around having a beer and talking about my volleyball career. He was just asking me questions and stuff like that.
Mm-hmm.
And we talked about the fact that for well over a year I played in position 4. For well over a year I played middle blocker, and for well over a year I played opposite the setter, right side. Mm-hmm. And he asked me, do you know anyone else who ever did that? And as far as I know, I'm the only person that's ever played all 3 of those positions, especially in the last 25, 30 years, which I feel like I'm pretty proud of, because I think that puts me as a pretty well-rounded volleyball player. And looking back, while the USA had the success from 84, 88, and the 92 bronze, I feel like also that success later on handcuffed us a little bit, because in 96, we were still trying to use that formula from the 84, 88 teams with the 2 good passers that maybe aren't big outside hitters, and a lot of our offense comes from the right side and the middles.
Exactly.
Whereas Brazil, Italy, they're maybe sacrificing their passing a little bit, but they got big pin hitters. Yes. Like we were so focused on always passing the ball perfect right at the top of the tape, super high. Whereas they were at the point where let's just pass it inside the 10-foot line pretty high, and we can still set our middles, we can still set everybody else. And if we don't pass it perfect, we still have our big pin hitters to put the ball away. And for us, if you start facing better and better jump serves, those passes get less and less precise, and you don't have those huge bombers on the outside, it makes it pretty tough. So Brazil has Lorenzo Bernardi and all those guys, and Negrão and Gavio, all those guys that just crush balls on the outside. They don't have to pass it perfect. Like for us, we almost had to pass it perfect to be at our best. And we also weren't as aggressive as a jump serving team at that time either. We were like, oh, you missed 2 serves, you better just go back and float it now. Whereas they were kind of like, just rip it, keep swinging at it. Maybe if you miss 3, 4 in a row, then you take something off, but then you go right back to the jump serve after that. So I feel like we were a little too conservative. We were a little bit too much like, I feel like if I had passed and I'd been given the kind of thing to be like, hey, you don't have to pass it perfect, just put it inside the 5 feet off the net, 7 feet off the net. Lloyd can still set the quick from there. Jeff Stork can still set the quick from there. We'll be fine. And I feel like that takes some of the pressure off you as a passer.
And why was that, do you think? Why were you so conservative?
I think because it worked for the USA team for years and years. When you have, you look at the 84 team, it's Karch and Aldis Berzins, who are, Karch is 6'2", 6'3". Aldis is probably 6'1". Then it's 88, it's Stverlik and Karch, and Bob's like 6'4". Karch is still the same height. And then, it's like, it just had worked. So they felt like there's no reason to mess with the formula. But the rest of the world is changing to a bigger, more powerful, dynamic game, and we're staying at that same game we've been playing since 1984.
You're right.
Yeah. So especially when you get to the rally scoring, like the point of point of that system was really trying to grind it out and wear teams down and just be playing for. I mean, I remember playing 2-hour and 45-minute matches, 3-hour matches, and just really, really trying to wear teams out and grind them down. Where with rally scoring, you really can't do that.
Mm-hmm. And tell me, Tom, how was your experience at Olympics? I saw an interview with you, and you told that it was like a big moment for you to play in an Olympics, especially in your country.
It was. It's the kind of thing. At the time it happened, it was very, very disappointing because we did not do as well as we would have liked. We lost 2 5-set matches that if we'd won either one of those, we would have taken second in our pool. But instead, we lost them both, so we took 5th in our pool, which did not get us into the medal round. And now I look back, at the scoring system now, where it's like if you go to 5 sets, you get that 1 point. And I have never gone back to do it because it's just too painful. But I wonder if our matches would have counted better now, if we would have qualified for whatever. But at the moment it happened, it was really, really painful, and it was hard because you put so much time and effort into this once every 4-year thing, and then it's just like I'll never forget sitting on that court afterwards, just being like, all that time put in, and now we're here. What are we left with? So. But in hindsight, the further away you get from it, the more you really appreciate it, and the more it's. You go through all the cliches. Hey, not many people play in the Olympics. It's an honor just to be there, and it really is. But at the same time, we're the team that didn't medal after getting 3 medals in a row. 2 golds and a bronze. So we're the team that kind of let the USA down. We have very high expectations, and obviously the USA team for a long time after that kept struggling for a while. So but I still have a lot of good friends from that team. We still talk fondly about it. Obviously, we still enjoy each other. So at the time it was hard, very, very hard. But
okay, fantastic. I really appreciate your words. I finally want to thank you enormously for your time and your words. As I told you, I'm very proud and happy to make interviews with players like you who did so much for our beautiful volleyball, for our beautiful sport. And I want to thank you again, to meet you, to talk with you, and to learn what not most people around the world, especially in Chile or in other parts, knows about US volleyball. I invite you to keep in touch, to like our publications, and wish you many health and wishes for this time for you and your family.
I just want to thank you for remembering me. I always appreciate being remembered. I get further and further away, and more people forget me. So it's always nice when someone does recognize me.
I make, as a friend told me, I work as an historian in volleyball. So I like to watch and see and happily talk with players like you, because I think there's a lot of thousands of players who did so much for the countries, for volleyball history. So this is my quest. So I thank you for your time to talk with me, and I hopefully invite you to keep in touch and keep talking about our beloved volleyball.
Well, if you ever want to do this again, let me know. I'd be glad to.
Fantastic. Thanks so much, Tom.
Yeah. Have a good night.